Okay, so how do you feel when you hear of these racist attacks?
I think it makes me feel like, well, what's changed to a certain extent, and I think partly it's also, I feel a little bit like it's there is a certain amount of anger, but not anger because, oh, why are these attacks happening? It's more as a reaction of some symptoms that we've seen building up in society. So we've seen, for example, Trump has just come into power in the US, and even though his slogan is "Make America Great Again," a lot of people said he's allowed Americans to hate again, and it's true because there, at least before, there was a stigma attached to the amount of abuse that you could throw at somebody because of their religion, because of their ethnicity, because of their sexuality. And now it's become the norm for you to be able to express your hatred towards certain minority groups within society, and obviously Muslims are part of that. There's that, and I think there's also obviously the media. There's a constant media backlash against Muslims, and I think the bias is just becoming stronger and stronger. Yes, it's not as strong as it is in America with Fox News, etc., but it is still quite prevalent and it's so regular. And I think what happens as well is there's a disconnect between what's going on elsewhere in the world and the reality of Muslims here. So you have obviously ISIS going on, you have people perpetrating acts which are inhumane, such as female genital mutilation in parts of Africa, and people automatically associate that, okay, because it's a brown coloured person doing it, and a few of them seem to have scarves on, therefore it's all Muslims. So there's a generalisation. So in that respect, sometimes I kind of don't really blame some of these people who carry out these attacks, because the sort of propaganda that they're exposed to, it's not really their fault. Because if I was a person who had no interaction with Muslims whatsoever on a personal level, and that's all I saw, I am going to kind of get riled up and think, you know what, these Muslims, they're just like causing all these problems in the world. So therefore, I need to, why is no one saying anything about it here in the UK? So I think that's a general issue. But I wouldn't look at the attacks as a thing of like, oh, I just think, the West needs to change and the West has gone down. I just think that unfortunately this is something that has been a long time coming. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Um, what what sort of advice have your loved ones or parents have given you to ensure your safety?
Well, from around the age of 4, on a practical level, my parents have kind of encouraged me to do martial arts, so self-defense. And I know it might sound a bit extreme, but it's something that I've done. It's something I enjoy, and it's not just the idea of doing martial arts; it's the mentality that it gives you. So even if you go through a stage where you're hurt or you're quite weak or you're ill, just having a particular mentality, it teaches you to uphold yourself in a particular way when you go outdoors, and I think that's positive. Well, for example, if you're a woman, just generally, or if you're from certain ethnic minorities, because we are highly likely to be targets of abuse on the street, regardless of whether you're Muslim or not. So I think that's empowered me. I think in terms of role models, I think, for example, my martial arts teacher herself and her husband are of Afro-Caribbean heritage. They were non-Muslim before and they converted to Islam. This is like maybe 15, 20 years they've been Muslim. And I think for them, they've been through a lot. So they've seen the racism that happened when they were younger, because they're now like around 50. So they grew up with racism against black people, and now they're seeing and sometimes even experiencing the same sort of abuse going on against Muslims. So because they've got a lot of knowledge and personal experience of those situations, they don't just teach us martial arts, they sit us down, they have a pep talk. For example, when the Tottenham attack happened, my teacher sat all of us women down and were explaining, that there are ramifications for Muslims, unfortunately, and we have to be prepared to deal with them. And hopefully we pray that God protects us from being afflicted with this sort of vitriol in the street, but it is a reality. I think in terms of my mum in particular, who's of Afro Caribbean heritage, she, even before she became Muslim, she was very much empowered by the whole Black Power movement. So figures like Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X, she's very much influenced by them and their literature and their teachings. And I think I'm quite lucky because my mum is someone who, even though she's black, she wasn't emotionally motivated by the change she wanted to make. It came from a standpoint of knowledge. So it was like, you have to empower yourself